Welcome to another edition of the Ronline Report. And because it's the Ronline Report, I choose the guests, and you guys seem like you agreed this would be a good choice. We're here with Chris Griffin, aka the Goon. First of all, I want to tell everyone how I met this man. It was 2013. It was a dark and stormy night. No, what happened was there was a guy at our gym. I want to say, what do you think that guy was, about 50 at the time? Late
Yeah.
40s? So this guy was an older guy, was doing his first contest, men's physique, and he did not get in shape, and he did very, very badly because there wasn't a masters division at the show, and he was very upset about it, very negative. And I think, Chris, you had asked him about, possibly doing men's physique show, and he said, no, you'll never get in shape. It's impossible. You're too old. And what were you, 39 at the time?
38.
38, and he said, "Yeah, forget it. You can't get lean. You can't do it." And Chris came up to me, and he wanted a second opinion. Basically, I said, "That guy's he's a negative asshole. He's full of shit just because he couldn't get in shape for whatever reason." So Chris proceeded to get in shape. I gave him a little advice, and he did his first show a couple months later, and third place, I believe it was.
Yeah, third. Not knowing my ass from the elbow about it.
Right. So that's how we met, and we were training partners. We started training together while you were in prep for that show, I think, right?
Yep.
And we've been training partners ever since. So first of all, let's find out a little about you. Where did you get that nickname Goon?
I've had it since I've been a kid. I've always been a head taller and about 40 pounds heavier than everybody. A big goon, just kind of stuck.
Okay. Now you grew up in
don't own it.
You grew up in Southie, South Boston, correct?
Yes, sir.
So this is a place that most people only know from certain movies like The Departed and, Black Mass, which you actually had a bit part in. So was Southie really like that when you were growing up there with, the Irish mob running things and like that movie?
To an extent. I mean, you know who the guys were, and everyone kind of lived a little bit outside the law. Like, I didn't realize that appliances didn't come from the store, until I was probably about 14.
Yeah.
Everyone went over to the bar and bought TVs and microwaves. But it wasn't quite as crazy as the movies portray.
Yeah. Okay. But it was definitely not your typical, not like the suburbs where I grew up in Waltham.
Oh, definitely not like the suburbs.
Okay. You were athletic from an early age, correct?
Yes.
So your main sports, from what I understand, so people know a little about you. I know boxing, you took that all the way to Golden Gloves, and you ended up being beaten badly by John Ruiz, is that correct?
Yes.
Who a couple of years later became the world heavyweight champion. That's the same title, I want to say, as Ali, Tyson, Frazier, all those guys, right?
Right. He wasn't quite the champion that those guys were, but he was the baddest man in the world for about a period of 2 years.
And you can say you got your ass kicked by the best boxer in the world.
Hey, he beat the bag out of me. I'm not going to lie. He dismantled me, but I just take pride in the fact that he never knocked me down, didn't knock me out.
Yeah.
He lit me up. I was actually peeing blood after that fight.
Ooh, doesn't sound good. I know you were also a pretty decent baseball player, is that correct?
Yeah.
Yeah. And but football was where you really shined. I want to go back. One thing is before I ever talked to you, I just thought you were this big, dumb, tattooed thug. As most people still look at you and probably assume that. But you earned an engineering degree from Boston University, correct?
Yes, sir.
Where you were there for a full scholarship for football as well, right?
Yes.
So 4 years football BU, and then what happened there with the NFL after that?
I was getting looked at. BU was a smaller program. So I wasn't really draft bait, meaning like I was like a top prospect.
Yeah.
And I was a little bit small and slow for the positions that I played. I was kind of a tweener.
Yeah.
So I ended up getting invited to camp as an undrafted free agent.
Okay.
I played a lot of positions, though. I would play defensive end, outside backer, snap. I just try to find any way possibly that I could to get on a team.
And you ended up in the camp for, was it the Cardinals?
For the Cardinals, yes.
That's Arizona?
Yes.
So I have a Patriots shirt on, but I don't know jack shit about football. I'm a fraud.
I'm a cat, and what are you going to do?
So technically, you were in the NFL for a short time.
Yes.
Okay. And what happened? You blew out your knee or something?
Very short. I actually ended up tearing my LCL and my MCL at the same time.
Awesome. Tell me how you got into weight training.
I started when I was probably 12, 13. I always wanted to be big and strong. Seeing movies, you know, Arnold, Conan, Dolph Lundgren. Dolph Lundgren was a big inspiration of mine. You know, Ivan Drago.
Yeah.
But the Sears weight set. You know, the red, white, and blue plastics.
Yeah.
I would actually sit in my room watching a little black and white TV, watching wrestling, and just curl for like an hour and a half. Like, that was like the extent of my knowledge.
Yeah.
And I started doing a little bit more. Then, luckily, down the street from me, growing up, there was a place, a rec center.
Yeah.
The L Street Rec Center. It was right on the beach. And they had a weight room. And I just got tied up with a good group of guys down there. Showed me a lot.
Yeah, I think you told me you were one of the younger people. There was a lot of guys in like their 30s and 40s that you were able to learn a lot from. It was powerlifters, bodybuilders. Yeah,
it was an interesting collection of people. I mean, there wasn't a lot of equipment. I was probably like the youngest who was like allowed to like train there with them. You know, I learned gym courtesy really quickly. You didn't put your plates away. You got slapped, legitimately slapped.
Wow. Now, we've talked. You talked to me. We've talked a lot about it. About how training was different, and there was an expectation on you to do certain basic movements and to be very strong on those movements. So, what was typical of what you would see? We're talking about the mid late '80s now, right? Is this where you were at that point? So, what would you typically see in the gyms and rec centers back then going on?
The big three lifts. I mean, bench, squats, deadlifts, bent over rows. I mean, done a lot of sets, heavy weights. You basically couldn't hold your head up in the gym, even when I was 15. If you couldn't bench 315, it was like, go home.
Yeah.
I mean, everyone did it. It was almost like old school Arnold sets.
Yeah. So, what kind of results did you get, and were you getting stronger more so than bigger, or vice versa?
I tended to get stronger.
Yeah.
I think that has a lot to do with my metabolism and my genetics.
Yeah. Yeah. What were your goals, Zach? Was it really just for sports, or you wanted to get just bigger and stronger in general?
It was both. I wanted to be better at sports because I wanted to get the hell out of where I was.
Yeah.
And the way to do that was sports.
Right.
But I started reading the mags when I was like 13 years old. I mean, I can remember picking up. There's an issue of Muscle Mag. I know I shouldn't say Muscle Mag. This is MD, but it had Mike Christian in it. And I was just like, wow, the world turned for me at that point. It was just like, started reading the mags. I would follow routines. I can remember I did the Mike Christian chest workout. It was a double split routine. I was trying to get to the gym twice a day, 3 days a week, pounding it. And I was wondering why I wasn't growing.
Yeah, I mean, we were real naive back then. We really didn't even understand that drugs were used or involved in any way. When did you finally learn or find out that they were used by athletes of all levels?
When I went to college. You start hearing, they refer to the NFL as the show. You want to go to the show, this is what you're going to have to do. And you start having my coaches say something. Well, you might want to gain 30 pounds this summer. Orals are great for that. And a couple guys on my team had the Underground Steroid Handbook.
Yes.
We used to pass that around in bags like it was some type of like secret treasure. Just having it would get you in trouble.
Yeah, that was the late Dan Duchesne wrote that, for people that don't know. Yeah, turn that light back on. When did you start getting tattoos? And, I'm sure people are curious, why did you get so damn many?
I got my first tattoo when I was 15.
Wow.
Tattoo party. And then by the time I was 16 years old, the age was only 18.
Yeah.
And I could walk into pretty much any tattoo parlor. No one was going to say to me, oh, you're not 18. I was already 6'3".
Yeah.
And I was into punk rock, and it just seemed like the thing to do at the time. And it was kind of like one of those big athletic things, too. That's when you started seeing football players started getting tattooed.
Yeah.
And then a buddy of mine, which really ended up having his own tattoo shop.
Oh, boy.
Yeah, so I'd hang out at the tattoo shop and just get tattooed.
Yeah.
The bulk of my tattoos I got like in a year and a half.
Yeah. Do most of them mean anything, or are they just kind of spur of the moment random things?
Both. I have some stuff from Token on one arm that I kind of like always liked, but I have a zombie geisha on my leg because Living Dead Girl was on the radio.
Right.
I mean, these weren't the best decisions I've ever made.
It's Rob Zombie, for those who don't know, Living Dead Girl, classic. I want you to talk a little bit, if you would, about the job that you had as a younger man in your 20s, where I believe you were a driver for featured performers of a certain strip club or a gentleman's club.
Yeah, this is interesting. I got back from Arizona. Had been working in the bar for a period of time. The owner, whose name was legitimately Fat Sam.
Fat Sam, okay.
He said, "You want to make some real money?" And I said, "Hey, I'm down for it."
Yeah.
He hooked me up with this gentleman who ran the entertainment for 7 strip clubs.
Wow.
In Massachusetts and New Hampshire.
Yeah.
He could only do the entertainment because he couldn't have his name on the liquor licenses. So if you can follow me on this part.
Okay. Yeah.
So my job was basically, he'd have featured dancers come in, and I would transport them from club to club, hang with them, and make sure they made their next club, all this kind of stuff. It was...
Now these were adult, they were mostly adult film stars, right?
90% of them were adult film stars, yes.
Yeah. And what were some of the challenges of transporting these lovely ladies around?
Okay, most of these girls were train wrecks, complete train wrecks. I had one, I actually can't even remember her name. She was probably my age at the time, 22, 23.
Yeah.
Been down the road, hard road, you could tell. If you looked at her face, she had to look 40 years old.
Oof.
And I was told, she's a crackhead. You have to keep an eye on her all the time. Keep a leash, or she's going to go get crack.
Yeah.
So I'd taken her from club to club to club. And it'd been all right. It'd been a bit challenging. Just had to make sure that she was high enough where she didn't have to go get crack.
Yeah.
So we're out in Springfield, Mass. And anybody who knows that area, Springfield can be a tough town.
Yeah.
In a hotel. These motels aren't necessarily in the greatest part of the world.
Right.
We had a suite. She was one of the few people that I actually stayed in, because I couldn't let her go. Big bag of cash. So I put the cash in my room because there's no way this girl's going to get that much cash.
Yeah.
I go to get changed. I hear the door slam. She's gone. I come out gone, horrified. Now, the guy I'm working for isn't exactly the kind of guy you say, "I lost your stripper."
Yeah.
That wasn't happening. So I grab some cash, get dressed, and I go down. And of course, there's a project across the street.
Yeah. Where you get cracked?
White Dawn's on Marblehead, right?
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not familiar with this particular project, but I'm no stranger to projects.
Yeah. So
I head over there, and I see some kids clocking on the corner. I'm like, "Hey, did you see this blonde trick?" Yada, yada, yada. Throwing some money around. Finally go from one corner to the next and find out that she's at some guy's apartment by now.
Wow.
She's only got a 10-minute head start, mind you.
She moves fast.
Right, so now I got one of these kids. He's like, "Okay, I can show you where this guy lives." And this was like $200. So now I got this. I know she's in this apartment. What do I do?
Yeah.
I got to bang on the door and fetch her. Not the greatest moment in my life, right?
Yeah.
Hold on.
There goes the light again.
Sorry about the lights, timer.
Okay.
And so I knock on the door. At this point, I'm thinking, this isn't going to go too well. 4 guys in the apartment. She's sitting on the couch smoking a crack pipe.
Yeah.
So I say to the guy, I was like, is his name here? And he looks at me. And, I mean, Racist Post reported, I'm the only white guy for miles.
Yeah.
But the interesting thing is I'm a white guy in a freaking Hugo Boss suit who doesn't look like he's an accountant coming to your door, 1 in the morning.
Yeah.
So I told him who I was working for. That kind of gave him a little bit of pause, knowing that if I got dropped, more than likely he's going to get dropped.
Yeah.
So I pulled $2,000 out of my pocket, which was her money, that she made from selling pictures and everything. And I said, "You're a businessman, I'm a businessman. How about you take this cash, I take the trick, and get the hell out of here?"
Yeah.
So I did that, hot pounding. Surprised I got away with it. And this girl's like, "What's wrong, man? What's wrong?" Having to basically pull a porn star through a project, screaming, the middle of the night, back into a hotel. That's when I really started rethinking this job.
So what was the last straw with that job that made you say, "I'm done, I'm out"?
Okay. I'm going to throw out a name here. It'll probably piss off Tito Ortiz, but I was driving Jenna Jameson.
Yes.
From Massachusetts to Rhode Island. I had to stop in my neighborhood to hook Jenna up with some guy for some coke because she couldn't make it through the morning without any blow.
Yeah.
So she's got a decent amount of cocaine on her. I have to pick up a midget. Now, discretion's the better part of valor, and I'm really not going to have to get into what this midget was, but it's just suffice to say that I had a midget in the back seat.
Yeah.
So I'm driving down I-95. This was like a week after the project incident.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I could do some real freaking time here. I got a porn star sitting here doing lines off a CD, cocaine, a bag of money, I got a gun, and there's a freaking midget in the back seat. If this isn't against the laws of man, it's against the laws of God.
Yeah, I don't think there's anything illegal about having a little person in your car, but...
Yeah, it just kind of adds to the whole character of the situation.
So that was the end of that job.
Yeah, that's an industry built on human misery.
Yeah, for the rest of us looking in, it looks pretty hot, exciting, glamorous, sexy, but apparently not.
No, dude, it's horrible.
Okay. Now, you were also shot at one point. Can you tell that story? Yeah,
I was bartending at a place, pretty young. This was a couple years later. And this is when people still paid with cash. We had finished up the night, and we had cash in these bags. And we're going to make a deposit to the bank. They have like a night deposit, would go down.
Yeah.
Walk outside, close the door of the bar, lock it. There's 2 dudes with ski masks outside, guns drawn. Got a gun in the face, and they're like, "Get on your knees." My first thought is, fuck you, no. I get on my knees, you're going to shoot me.
Right.
So I hand him, the one guy, the 2 bank bags. And he's about to leave. They turn, and I'm like, okay, this isn't bad. One of the guys turns around, levels his gun. I do this. The bullet actually goes through my wrist.
Yeah.
Out this side, hit me in the head, and rolled up. So luckily, it didn't do anything to the head because it had deformed enough, and it was a 25.
Oh, nice. So that's how you got shot. Were you stabbed also, or was I mistaken about that?
Oh, no, I've been stabbed a couple times.
Oh, okay. So which is worse, being shot or stabbed?
Pain-wise?
Yeah.
Shot.
Okay. I would think stabbing, because, the knife's going into your body and everything, but what do I know?
Well, yeah, I got stabbed in the ribs. That was quite unpleasant, but it was quick. It just felt like a sting.
Okay. A lot of guys on the boards, the taller guys really relate to you, and on Facebook and everything too. So you're a little bit under 6'5" now, correct? You were 6'5" at one time in your life?
Yeah, old age and squats.
Yeah, we're all getting shorter. What are some of the advantages in life and lifting? I don't know if there are any. What are the advantages of being 6'5" in general? What are the disadvantages?
Well, disadvantages is we're never going to look like Phil Heath.
Yeah.
Well, you're never going to pack the muscle on. I mean, 19-inch arms on a guy who's 6'5" looks like they might as well be 15s.
Yeah, right.
Your presses are never going to be where they are. But, height-wise in life, it's a great thing.
Yes.
I mean, you command the room when you walk in.
Right. Just to throw it out there to people, if I've there have been times when you and I have been in public, and people will make snide remarks to me like, maybe if you keep training, you'll get as big as your big buddy there.
I know, really.
Yeah, and I'm like, don't you people realize? But yeah, it's true though. I mean, especially people look up literally and figuratively to much taller guys. So I think for bodybuilding, you're fucked. But I mean, life in general, I think you're in a great spot being that tall.
Well, also, I wouldn't have had a shot at, playing professional football if I was 5'8".
Probably not, right? I don't know how many 5'8" football players there are.
Not a ton.
Are there any? I don't know.
I don't know. Probably not in the last 25 years.
So you've competed a couple times now, and you don't have any illusions of going pro or anything like that, or being, if you could go pro, I don't think you have any illusions of being a good pro, but you've competed now in physique a couple times, and you just tried classic physique at your most recent show as well. So what are your next goals? Where do you want to go from here as far as the next show, and what division?
I'm pretty thinking that classic is kind of my home, even though my structure isn't perfect.
Yeah.
It's just more where my weight's going to be. My structure isn't perfect for bodybuilding either. I mean, let's face it. And unless I'm putting on another 35 pounds of muscle, which I kind of pretty much don't see happening in my 40s anytime soon.
Right.
So I think I'm going to jump in, probably do the New Englands in October.
Because the weight limit in the NPC for classic for your height is what?
I could be 248.
248. What were you at your last show last fall?
236.
Okay, so there's a little bit of room still there before you're totally maxed out on that. 12 pounds, I think you'll be okay.
Yeah.
You've also gotten into coaching over the last year. How did that start?
People asking me.
Yeah.
And I've been given advice, from a certain end. I'm gonna be real about this. People have been asking me for chem advice for a long time.
Yeah.
And then just people generally ask me for diet advice. And then finally people like, you coach me for a show. And I always said, I'm not qualified.
Yeah.
And then finally, seeing some of these people out there who are calling themselves coaches.
Yes. Yeah.
I got to share this. The other day on Instagram, there's a girl who trains at our gym.
Yes.
20 years old.
Lovely young girl.
Yeah, did a bikini show last year.
Yep.
Getting ready for her first figure show. Great genetics on this kid.
Absolutely.
I mean, she sticks with it 5-6 years. She's got a good shot at being a pro.
I think sooner than that, but yeah.
And she posts a picture up on IG. People compliment her. Oh, how do I look like you? Next thing I say, spring plans available.
2 days later, actually.
2 days later, she's a coach.
Yeah. So, you could be a coach.
Yeah, I mean, the kid hasn't been training enough. I don't even think the kid's certified as a trainer.
No, I don't think so. Yeah. So when you see stuff like that, you realize maybe I am a little more qualified.
Exactly.
You've been lifting for 25 years or more.
Yeah.
You're a geek. You read as much as you can. You're a font of knowledge on these things. So I think it's about time you started coaching and working people and sharing that knowledge personally.
Yeah, and I have a few bikini girls right now. That's why I started with. I'm like, how tough is it to get a thin girl 5 pounds thinner? But it's actually turning out pretty well for me so far.
Yeah. Now, we say it's I make that same joke myself. How hard is it to get these people in shape? But there is a certain aspect to it where you have to sort of be like a psychologist to these people too, wouldn't you say?
You've seen some of these texts I've shown you.
Yeah.
I ate a pint of ice cream last night because my boyfriend's a fuckboy.
Yeah.
Can I have peanut butter? Is it okay that I just banged down a bunch of sushi today? I mean, you actually become these people's father, priest, whole nine.
Yeah.
Just the typical insanity of prep.
So, but I mean, you're just starting out with you'll eventually move on to body. You were working with a bodybuilder guy.
Yeah.
But eventually you'll be moving on to all the divisions, I assume.
Yeah.
Would you be willing to make that a full-time gig if it gets to that point?
Yeah, if it becomes lucrative enough, definitely.
Okay.
I would definitely jump into it. It's something I love.
Yeah.
I mean, at this point, like, I've discussed a lot of stuff. I mean, discussing Mike Cox's prep with them.
Yeah, cool.
You know, but a guy like Mike, it's easy to help out because he knows what he's doing. Just a tweak here and a tweak there.
Right.
Send him over the top.
So last question about the boards. You're on the boards and you're actually a moderator now. What are some of the things you see on the board that you'd like to see more of that are cool, and what are some things that really get under your skin?
I'm actually liking your interview series. It's actually really cool.
Thank you.
Contest coverage I've always liked. Some of the interactions. The things that get under my skin, and I can't blame some of it, is people I take to be kids who haven't been around for a long time.
Yeah.
Jump on every bandwagon in the world. They have no idea. It's like I'm going to throw this out there, and this is nothing against the guy. Bonac.
Oh yeah.
He is not beating Phil anytime soon. I'm sorry about this, but you can say all you want. He's not. Just little things like that. Someone wins like one show, everybody loves them, and just generally the freaking negativity.
Yeah. But, I'm trying to do my best if people are going to go crazy over the line and be super negative, they're not going to be around anymore because we don't need it. It's it's a balancing act. You have to have a certain amount of freedom of speech, but you can't let it get to a point where people are just talking mad shit, just insults, being obnoxious about it. There is a line that's crossed at times. So anyway, yeah, we're gonna try to keep doing the best we can with the board, and I'm glad you're helping moderate it too. Okay. Well,
plug for Iron Essential.
Oh, Iron Essential. That is a clothing company, which I believe Jose has part ownership in now, correct?
Correct.
I think so, yeah. Along with Mark Keeney. So, all right. Well, this has been an interesting thing. I think everyone has learned a little bit more about this character they call the Goon, which is certainly a more entertaining name than Chris Griffin from Family Guy. So, for the Ronline Report and MD, this has been Ron Harris with the Goon.